The Journey to the Last Jedi, The Legends of Luke Skywalker. No, I'm joking. Don't go anywhere. Oh my goodness, calm down. I like that book. But there was a Journey to series or initiative for the original trilogy, so to speak, and that was the newspaper strips. And as I'll show in the third volume here, there's my cat's losing his mind and playing in a bag, but I'm just going to shoot this and see how it goes. He does that. It could go on for 45 minutes, so I'm not going to wait for it to stop. Volume 3 has really cool stuff that shows us a character before we see him in the movie. Journey to the Return of the Jedi. I will try to make this quick. I know I always say that, and it doesn't end up being quick. But I do not want to pretend I am an expert on these classic comics. The newspaper strips, of course, being some of our first EU being published along with the Marvel comics. They have been published in a variety of ways over the years. The most recent ones would be these 3 omnibus editions and the Epic collections. The Epic collections are fully colored. These are not. However, I think this is probably the ideal format to have them in it because of the shape. As you'll see, probably displays the panels properly, given how they were originally printed in newspapers. So the size of my glorious Epic collection is somewhat stunted as a result, but so be it. So the first one, the series started being written by Russ Manning, but he passed, or his health declined, and he passed shortly after, with a variety of artists. I like that page. All 3 have an intro by Rich Handley, and he does a good job laying out why they're important, what they meant at the time, introducing the authors and creators. This first volume, the series has not yet come into its own. That's what people will most often say about the series, is it's the second creative team that carries it forward after Russ Manning, where the series comes into its own, and that's really what it's known for. So these stories are not quite as long, it's not quite as serialized, shorter arcs, but they're still fun. And we get stuff that I like. We have the mysterious villain, Black Hole, who goes on to have increased significance in the EU through retcons and further appearances. Also, there is this storytelling device that was abandoned with C-3PO and this Mistress Memos. C-3PO talks to this giant computer, kind of an aged sci-fi idea. The idea that they needed a computer that big to handle all this information. And he's sort of reporting the events of the story arcs. I liked it. I think there were some storylines that didn't get republished. Is this Kashyyyk one of them? I don't know. I like this Kashyyyk bit because there's some cool stuff in the illustrations, like this weird lizard guy they ride into the lower levels. Here in the first volume we have Lady Tarkin. So that's a good opportunity to show you the format. What we're looking at here on these 2 pages is 6 days of comics. That strip, that one strip right there, is one day. And you know, it has the dates here. And then on the Sunday strip, there'd be a full color issue. And something for the big continuity nerds out there who just, it's fun for them to go over these types of details. Oftentimes, from strip to strip, there will be a recap in like the very first panel, just of a few lines of dialogue to give context what happened in the last panel, so the reader the next day, if they're jumping in, they know basically what's going on. And sometimes it will repeat the dialogue but slightly different, and so that I wonder which one is canon, which piece of dialogue, since it's told and sometimes illustrated from two different perspectives. Volume 2. Here we have Al Williamson and Archie Goodwin. The bulk of the storylines, even though The Empire Strikes Back was already out by the time they got into their groove, are taking place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and that is so that the creative team knew where the story was going so that they could write more confidently and build a story around that. And so then the newspaper strip is being published after the release of The Empire Strikes Back, leading up to Return of the Jedi, but the story is taking place between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. And it will say that in the beginning of a lot of the panels. This chronicles the events between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, or Star Wars. The art gets better in my opinion as well. So they adapt Han Solo at Star's End. Here is presented first in this volume, which is not a complete waste of time because we get visual depiction of Bollocks and Blue Max. Oh. It's one of Luke's romantic interests. Tanith, is that right? Tanith. This is a cool storyline that I should go back and reread. There's a star that pulls in a bunch of space junk, and they encounter a villain in there that's luring people there to their doom. It's pretty cool. There's the writing is pretty mature for something that was originally presented in tiny little pieces. When it gets stitched back together like this, it still works quite well. So this is, I'm pretty sure, I probably should have looked it up, this storyline, the Night Beast, this monster that they encounter. That is, the setup for that is in Tales of the Jedi, right? When Exar Kun sends the monster away. I'm pretty sure this is where that's from. Volume 3. Something to point out on these illustrated Sunday strips is the top portion is not used for the story. And they'll do a little illustration, like that's a direct scene from Empire Strikes Back. And then they'll do like a profile of a character or a piece of tech or something. And I saw this one, and I think there's other examples. Star Wars scrapbook, small cargo ship. Did they just invent that for this? So this would be the first appearance of that ship type. Maybe. I'm not positive. There's a cool storyline where Luke falls for another lady, and she's, I guess it's spoilers, you really should read these. They're better than you would think. She ends up being an android. This is a cool, nice storyline. But here it is, the road to Return of the Jedi. This is why I punked you. This is set up for this. Starts Monday, a special new adventure introducing Admiral Akbar, soon to be featured in the next film of the Star Wars saga, Revenge of the Jedi. It looks like they had not yet decided to call it Return, or that was not communicated, but that right there is our first depiction of Admiral Akbar. I should have looked up if the trailer was out yet. Regardless, this is before the release of Return of the Jedi. He's showing up here in the comic first, in the expanded universe first. Chronologically before Empire Strikes Back, but nonetheless. And so... Oh, I should have went and found it. A little digression. There's a line of dialogue in the issue before Empire Strikes Back is going to come out, and then the character says something like it's that week Empire Strikes Back is coming out, and the character's like, you know, they're gonna strike. We're gonna get payback for this. The Empire is gonna strike back, and it's brilliant. It's as brilliant as you would imagine me describing it. I was just going through that Ralph McQuarrie concept art book, and it's the only reason I recognize this. This is just a piece of Ralph McQuarrie concept art that they redrew here. And so here it is in one of the panels before. They're like, Admiral Akbar's coming, and so here he is. And there's Admiral Akbar's first appearance. You know, except for that little setup, his first in-story appearance in Star Wars, in the expanded universe, right there. There's like this big octopus thing is pulling the Millennium Falcon under the water. Buddy, you're okay. This is a cool storyline. The Mind Witch, and it's got like a bit of a The Shining vibe. I should have checked if The Shining came out first, but there's like this beautiful woman that Luke encounters, and then it turns out that she's this old woman that's like gonna subject him to some ritual to absorb his energy, and it's pretty creepy the way it's presented. I'm not even sure if they properly defeat her. Also in this volume, there's this storyline involving the Executor, and I think this is where we're introduced to the shipyards as well. First time, which gets carried on through the EU pretty prominently in various areas, like the second Rogue Squadron game where you assault the Executor. But they get like this power crystal that lets them penetrate through the shields, which is kind of cool. This power gem is like from the Old Republic, it's stated. Seems to be some lore potential there. And he's doing it with Jan Dodonna's son. Some of the Sunday strips, the artwork's fantastic. I thought this is a good example. They clearly, you know, some of the story is given a back seat, and the artwork takes up a lot of the panel space, and it's allowed to be the star of the show. We also have the death that was later retconned, I think, in Kratos' trap of Jan Dodonna, as he sacrifices himself. Happened somewhat similarly in the new canon. I'm sorry. Right, yeah, I went to my post-its out of order because my cat was freaking out and distracted me. There's the beautiful woman that becomes the old witch woman. That's the reappearance of the Night Beast, because the witch woman can conjure illusions. What do we have here? Right. This guy, what's his name? Score, right? Maybe I'm wrong. And he's showing up here almost at the end of the strip, but I'm pretty sure he shows up before, but that's where he comes from, this bounty hunter. That's it. I won't go on. You know, if you know the strips, I didn't show you anything new, and maybe you watch this and at the very least you were like, hey, that is cool and I like that. Thank you.